great Monday evening to everybody. Appreciate you all tuning in, whether it is live or on the replay. It's time once again for another episode of Marriage by Design. We're already on episode number 18. This year is flying by. We're having a great time. You want to go ahead and share this out. My wife's about to share this out. You want to share this out. Today we're going to be talking about romance and finance. You know, the saying they say out there, right? You know, ain't no romance without no finance. So is that true? We're going to dig into some of the things. Definitely want your input. So make sure you comment, you chime in. But right now, you want to go ahead and hit that button that says share it out. And also you can invite specific individuals. You hit the share button, you can invite, you type the name in. If you know they need to hear this, then you want to share it with them. And also make sure you turn on, if you're watching live, hit that button that says turn on so you can get notified anytime that we go live. Now, I'm going to share this out as well, but we got some announcements for you, you guys. We have some book of the week before we get into our topic, but make sure that you stay tuned because we are going to talk about romance and finance. But before we even get too much further into the show, I want to go ahead and tell you about an event that we have coming up. Our next live event, Real Talk. It's coming Saturday, June 3rd, Greensboro, North Carolina. It's going to be phenomenal.
It is, and we're going to cover some hot topics, and what we're calling them are real topics: sex, dating, love, marriage, all the different things people have questions about before they get married and after they get married. So we're talking to the single people. We're talking to the people that are there dating, engaged, and married. We're going to cover all these different topics from all those different walks of life. So go ahead and reserve your seat now. After the show, go to what?
www.therealtalktour.com. Go there, reserve your seats. Seats are limited. It's limited space.
It is.
The seats are free. You can register for free. We do have some VIP experiences. Mm-hmm. People have already, registered for our VIP. The Platinum VIP is going to be phenomenal for those. Phenomenal experience for those people who get the VIP and the Platinum VIP experience. Yeah. So make sure you get those because they're discounted right now. The price is going up. We started off with a super early bird discount, and now the price is going up, but it's going to go up again for the VIP and the Platinum VIP experience. So you don't want to wait to get registered for the event. Of course, it's free if you want, the general admission. We'll make sure everybody gets this information, access to this, but we definitely want to look out. So listen, give us a shout out as you're hopping on. I see Raymond Larkin is in the building. Anybody, as you tune in, give us a shout out. Let us know where you're tuning in from, where you are, and your name, particularly if you're a first timer. We want to hear it from you, and we want you to chime in throughout the show. If you got comments, if you agree with something, you disagree, if you got a question, comments, ideas, concerns, all of the above, we want to hear from you out there in internet land. And we're going to talk about romance and finance on today's show. But before we get into the topic, go ahead and prepare yourself for the book of the week. Every week we come to you with something that will add value if you take hold of it and implement it into your life from a book standpoint. You want to work on personal development. So this week, hey fam, hey, what's up, Raven? This week we're going to be doing one of my favorites. It's actually the first book that I read. I'm not going to do the book of the week. It's going to be Yolanda. But it was the first book that I read in this personal development journey. And so without any further ado, my wife will do the honors. My beautiful bride. You're looking great today, girl.
Thanks.
Hey, all right.
So this is our book of the week. You can see it because it has different colors. The Magic of Thinking Big. Yeah. And James said this was his first book. This was recommended to us by our mentors at that time. And across the front, over 6 million copies sold. And this is an older version because I've had it for years. So it is a fantastic book. You may have already read it. And if you haven't read it, I suggest going and getting it now or when we get off, because this will help you overall in your entire life. We come to you and we say that one of our themes is that you grow. Your marriage gets better as you grow through personal development. So this book definitely tackles it. And what I love so much about this book is this book removes all excuses. And when removing all excuses, there is a chapter that says, cure yourself of excuse-itis, the failure disease. We've all been in a place place where we make excuses over and over again. My marriage isn't working and I'm going to blame the other person. Or my children don't do what they're supposed to do, so I'm going to blame them. Just excuse after excuse after excuse. And in this book, it talks about how to remove those excuses. And in particular, it talks about the excuse of a car accident. How they say that car accidents and accidents in life aren't excuses. And I'm just going to read a little excerpt so that you will go and pick up that book. And it says, it talks about the car accident. And then what he goes on to say is what the traffic expert was saying was that, let's see, there is a cause for everything. Nothing happens without a cause. Right. There is nothing that is accidental about the weather outside today. It is a result of specific causes. And there is no reason to believe that human affairs are an exception. So those aren't even an exception. Yet every day you hear about people that talk about bad luck, talk about lucky. My daughter was even talking about this, how I'm not lucky. This necklace is unlucky. I need to throw it away. And I say, no, we're not going to, talk about what's unlucky and not lucky. You got to take these moments and teach your kids. But we broke that down about how you fell out of the tree. It wasn't anything to do with the necklace. It was because you were climbing. You were being careless. It didn't have to do with luck. You fell down the steps because you were running down the steps. It didn't have anything to do with luck. There was a cause to it. And a lot of times we can teach our children that, but we often forget in our marriages and in life that we aren't, you see somebody say, oh, they are just lucky. They lucked up and married the right person. They're lucky. It has nothing to do with luck. Yeah. They're either working on themselves. You don't see what they're doing behind closed doors. Yeah. And so you just automatically think they're lucky. Or you see somebody that's successful in business, oh, they're lucky, but you didn't see the struggle that they went through and what they had to do to prepare. And so that's just one of the nuggets throughout the book. And then something else that's really good about this book is a lot of times when we get caught up and we're pursuing our dreams and our desires and we're going for our goals, the first person we push to the back burner is our spouse. And we'll say, you know what? Well, they're just going to have to hold on. We don't put time in for them. We move them over to the side, whether it be something that's new going on, like a life change, like you're getting, children or whatever the case may be, or you're starting a new job or pursuing a new adventure as an entrepreneur. We typically will push our family to the side, give all of ourselves to somebody else. And this book does a great job of doing a 30-day improvement guide, talking about breaking bad habits. And one of the habits it talks about doing is watching less TV, which is always good. But it even goes into talk about how to increase your value in your home while you're pursuing these goals and these dreams and these aspirations. It talks about, and this book was written in the 50s, and so he's typically talking to men, but it applies to women as well. It says, show more appreciation for the little things my wife does that I have taken for granted. I can say the same thing about James. Show more appreciation for the things that I have taken for granted. It goes on, once each week, do something special for my whole family. Give 1 hour a day of my undivided attention to my family. And that's strong there. Think about giving 1 hour a day of undivided attention, how that bond would grow. And if you started with your marriage, say, you know what, undivided attention, I'm going to turn off the phones. I'm going to turn off the television. I'm going to turn off social media. And we're going to give 1 hour of undivided attention to each other. If you're having problems in your marriage, in your relationship, and you're able to sit down, and even if you're not even talking to each other that much, as you keep doing these things every day, you're going to start developing a stronger and stronger bond. And we've known couples that 20 years later, after the kids have left, 30 years later, after it's just them and they've raised the family, they don't even know each other anymore. And it's because they didn't spend that time together. So pulling that all into the romance and finance, make sure that you spend that time with your spouse. Do those different things so that you can have that romance. And now we're going to talk about the romance and the finance.
Yeah, one more time. Magic of Thinking Big. That phenomenal book. And excellent breakdown of just those two. That's two chapters.
Two chapters.
Two parts of one of each chapter. So it's phenomenal. Welcome on, Kim Larkin. Hey, shouts out, Lovely. Keisha's in the building. If you are tuning in, give us a shout out. We want to know where you're tuning in from. Give us your name, particularly if you're a first time viewer. And please go ahead and share this out. You don't know who you'll be impacting that catch this broadcast. We're about to talk about romance and finance.
I like that.
Romance and finance. You know, they always always talking about there's no romance without finance. What do you guys think? Can you have romance without finance? Just give us a yes or no in the comments. Let us know if you think you can have romance without finance. So let me read some of these comments here. Raymond, Kim said, teach yo-yo. Yogi. Raymond said, this is good stuff. So important. Gotta get that book. Yeah, that's a good book. That was that was the first personal development book that I
asked James about that story, if you know him personally, about his story of reading his first personal development
there
book.
Is a story that goes along with it. But let's go ahead and get into the topic here of romance and finance. Now, they say there's no romance without finance, so let's start with the finance. Let's talk about some financial principles. And of course, in a half-hour show, we can't cover everything about finances, but we got a couple key points here on finances when it comes to your marriage and with being intentional about it and having your marriage financial situation be by design versus by default.
Right.
There's so many things that happen in life, like you talked about. Nothing just happens.
It doesn't.
But if you don't become intentional about it, it will just happen by default. So here one of the key points. We got 3 points under finance, and then we got 3 points for romance as well. When it comes to finance, point number 1 is men lead. Men lead in finance. Now, we have been to marriage seminars. We've been to marriage conferences from churches, and a lot of people want to tiptoe around this one. And people don't want to be offensive. They say, well, whatever works in your household and things of that nature. And of course, you always have to extrapolate, and there are things that when you're giving general teaching, you can't accept that as specific counsel. However, there's a general principle. There are general principles that just ring true. So it's a man's responsibility to provide. Let's just start there.
Correct.
It's a man's responsibility to provide.
100% correct. And I know in modern times you see a lot of families where both are working outside of the home, but it still boils down to the responsibility of the man, the husband, to go out there and provide for the family. And so, go ahead.
No, that's one of the basic tenets of being a man is being a provider. So when we talk about leading in finances, how grossly unfair is it for the wife to lead when it's the man's responsibility to provide? You know, if we talk about men having leadership roles in the home, the example I often use, but of course we always have new viewers, is my wife, Yolanda, she doesn't have the power to make a sweeping decision for our home. She doesn't have the power to say, you know what, the economy, the market here is bad. We need to relocate. So we're going to move. My wife can't say, hey, she can't come home and say, you know, we're going to move. She doesn't have that power. She doesn't have the power to say, you know what, we're going to downsize. We're going to relocate. We're going to sell the extra car. She doesn't have the power to do that. So how grossly unfair is it to her to give her the responsibility of leading the finances when she doesn't have the power to make those decisions? And it's also unfair on the other end of the spectrum as well. It's unfair for me. You see men who bring home the bacon and just give it to the wife and she handles everything. Well, how fair is that when she makes all the decisions about the money, but the man is providing the money? So that's just, it's out of balance. It's out of order there. So number one, when we talk about finances, men lead. It's your responsibility. You got to take ownership of that.
And what I was thinking about is something that we experienced. There is a small age gap between James and I. And so when we were in college, I went on to get my master's degree. And in getting my master's degree, James had a bachelor's degree. And with my master's degree, there was a time where I was making more money than James. Yeah. And sometimes you'll find that in relationships where the wife may be working outside the home and she's making more money. Still, even with that, James had the where it talks about the vision and the plan for the family, and he was also contributing too. And so he still led in our finances, even though I was making more money.
Yeah, and you pointed out having a financial vision and a plan. So many men And it's challenging for women sometimes to follow because the men aren't leading. They don't have a vision for the family finances. Right. They don't have a plan for the family finances. Even at that time where you were making more money, we got ourselves in that situation because we didn't have this type of understanding and teaching. And I never wanted you to have to work for another man.
No, it was always before having children or anything like that I was going to be home. Right. And so that was always it may have not worked out that way, but now I've been home for over 4 years. And so we're working, and we were working towards that. So even if you're in a situation where it's not ideal, because we've lived the non-ideal situation, even if you're in that situation, it still is your husband or it's the man in that relationship that leads. And talking even to your single ladies, if you're looking for, or you shouldn't be looking for, but if you're out there and you're available to a mate, when you're looking at that, you should be looking for a man that will be able to have a vision and a plan and lead, even at that particular time, if he is making less money than you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And number 2, we wanted to talk about in finances. We're talking about romance and finances. Say there's no romance without finance. We got to start with the finance then. Number 1, men lead, but number 2, women contribute.
Right.
Now, this doesn't mean necessarily what a lot of people might think. Women contribute. I've talked to men. I have a conversation with my cousin not too long ago, and he's like, I want a woman to bring something to the table.
He did say that.
And I was dropping some different perspectives on him as well. When we say women contribute, we're not talking about going out and having a paycheck and farming your wife out as, I can't cut the mustard as a provider, so I need her to be a paycheck. That's not what we're saying. But you still can contribute to the household finances. The man is leading in that area. And even if you are in a situation where maybe you don't want your wife to work outside of the home and you have a vision and a plan to get to that point, it's so amazing how people don't have a vision or a plan for that. Women want a man to lead them. It's, fellas, don't ever get it twisted. A woman wants you to lead, and more men spend more time planning their events for the weekend and they do planning their family's finances. But another topic for another day. Listen, women still are contributing. Even though the man's leading, even though he has the vision, even though he has the plan, she's still contributing, even if that's not talk about contributing by going out there and getting another job.
Agree. And you can be thrifty, ladies. And by thrifty, James has this word, it's frugal. And we have this conversation. I thought, okay, babe, I'm going to go to the grocery store. What's the budget for the week? And he's like, oh, just go be frugal. I'm like, frugal? What does that mean? So what are we having this week? Are we eating steak or are we eating a hamburger helper?
Steak and soup.
What is that?
Steak and soup. Bologna and oodles and noodles.
Right.
Steak and soup.
No. So being thrifty, there are different places where you can learn to do those things. There's money that's out there with couponing and different things where you can take 10 minutes and click on a couple different sites and print out these coupons and end up saving $10, $15, $20, $30 depending on what it is. So figuring out what it is, and if that's not the thrifty, then guess what? Maybe you don't need that new pair of shoes every paycheck. Maybe that's the thing that it is. Being able to find out, this is what we have for the money, this is the amount, all of this kind of stuff, and knowing what your budget is.
Yeah, so that's a contribution to the finances by being thrifty, making a dollar stretch.
Right.
Everybody understands that principle, but also you can contribute to the finances by not contributing financial pressure.
Oh, yes.
So men have a desire to provide. Real men had a desire where they want to provide. They want to take care of their wife. They want to take care of their woman. They want to take care of their children and their family. Real men want to provide. Simultaneously, you can get undue financial pressure from a couple different places. One is excessive requests. Excessive requests. Women, you can't. I can't overstate the pressure that comes from excessive requests when you're not in a financial situation. Your finances don't allow for you to do certain things because your husband wants to do it. And if you have excessive requests and you know what, we need this and we need that and we need this and we need that, you have to start to understand the difference in between what is needed and what is wanted.
Agree 100%. And I can speak from experience in this. And I've grown a lot. Let me start there. Because two different stories. When we first started dating, I told James, this is the diamond ring I need. And we weren't even dating. 2-3 carats, baguettes, all of those different things. And I even grew from there. Like, I don't even wear my engagement ring now. We have kids, it's sharp. I don't even wear it now. And then even past that, when we first started out and we were first getting married, we got this larger than life house. And we didn't need that. And I put that undue pressure on James, like, well, we can grow into it. And him being the sweet husband he is, he's like, oh, okay. And we had to grow from that. We learned so many different lessons in that experience. We no longer live in that house. And we had to do a short sale, all these other different things because of financial pressure, undue pressure that I was putting on James. We didn't have kids. It was just us. It was so many other situations that we could have done other than getting a several bedroom house and thinking that we were going to grow into it. And the community there.
3 bedrooms, loft.
It was 4.
It was three bedrooms, a loft.
Upstairs, downstairs, all, 2 stories, all these thousands of feet. And so we were like, you know what?
But that was a combination of you creating a financial pressure and me not leading. If I was a stronger leader, we both had to grow. You had to grow and understand that don't put that undue financial pressure there. And I had to grow in being able to lead and say, hey, that's not the best decision for our family financially at the time. Right. And so, being thrifty, don't contribute, don't have those excessive requests. Understand when it comes to a man being a provider, a man's job is not to provide luxury. A man's job is not to provide extravagance. A man's job, a husband's job, is to provide a basic standard of living. Now, if you have the means as a man to contribute, luxuries and going on great vacations and having, nicer things, men want to do that for their wives. They want to do that for their families. And it adds value to a man and it adds value to his family. But not when it gets out of line. Not when you have men who are abandoning their presence as a father, as a husband, because of all the presents that they are being requested of. And so sometimes, because we misconstrue what it's a man's job to provide what? Provide the most extravagant education for your children. You may desire to do that, but if it's at the expense of you not being around because you have to go grind so hard, that's out of balance. So one more area before we move on of women contributing by minimizing financial pressure is, when you have a lack of appreciation. And this kind of goes hand with excessive requests. When you have a lack of appreciation, that adds financial pressure. And having gratitude when you look up the man is providing and there's no appreciation there, that creates pressure.
I see that. I agree with that 100%. And I also like here where it talks about make sure wife is not blind to the finances. Yeah, that's point number 3 is that both the husband and wife are involved. Okay, yes. So number 1, men lead in finances. It's their job to provide. Number 2, women contribute by minimizing financial pressure, by being thrifty. And then point number 3, talking about finances, we're going to move quickly to romance. Both are still involved in the finances. Women contribute and input, give their input. Now, you married your wife just because you're leading, you make the decision, the final decisions. You married your wife because hopefully you saw some value in there. And my wife is an intelligent person, and I value her input. So if I'm going to make a major financial decision, I'm going to seek my wife's input into that. And also, sometimes you have people say, well, y'all say men should lead in finances. What if the woman's just better with money? That's fine.
What if the woman?
That's great, actually.
What if she's an accountant? Shouldn't she lead? No, she shouldn't lead. Let me ask you something. If it's your job to do something and you're not up to par in that area, what do? You get better. So if your wife is better administratively, if you're not up to par when it comes to the specifics of finances, that's your job. You have to get better in it. And y'all are still partners. Right. She can still contribute.
Exactly. Administrative. So if you are, great on Excel and you can get everything calculated with the bills from the car note all the way down to the light, the internet, the telephone, all that kind of stuff, and you can do that, then definitely go ahead and do that. Help your spouse, help your husband to understand that by contributing that. And that will make him even stronger if you're able to show him this this is how you do it. This is what needs help.
Yeah, Fred McLaurin, he's getting some value out of it. He said, this is good stuff. Kim said, say that, J Money. That's right. We're talking about money. J Money had to make an appearance up in here. So women can contribute administratively. And because your wife may be handling the details of the books and everything, doesn't mean she's leading, making the decision.
Right.
Making a decision. So in that, it's good because you want to make sure that both parties are involved and are aware of everything. Make sure the wife is not oblivious to the financial situation.
Correct.
Because sometimes I've seen it where men are hiding what the true picture of the financial situation is. Maybe they hit a rough spot. Sometimes there's integrity issues. The man is spending money on something, whether it's drugs or he got some type of habit or something like that. And that's another topic, another show for another day. Or just overall just hit a rough spot and he's hiding it from his wife. And so she doesn't know that I need to be a little more thrifty.
Frugal. There you go.
More frugal.
There you go.
More
frugal in my subconscious.
Need to be more thrifty. So make sure she's aware. And also I worked in the banking world, and I would have elderly women would call in, their husband passed, it was a deceased account, and they don't know how to pay bills. So we're not, when we say men lead, we're not saying that women are totally oblivious to what's going on. Just hand over the check, he handled everything, you don't know what's happening, you don't have input.
Right.
But it's his leadership responsibility there.
Correct.
So does that make oh, that's your cousin, Fred's Raymond's cousin. Glad he tuned in. Cesare is in the house. What's happening, Cesare? Glad you made it in on the show. So we're talking about romance and finance. They say there ain't no romance without finance. So we just covered finance. In case you're just tuning in, here are 3 points on finance. Point number 1, men lead. You're the provider. You lead in when it comes to finances. Number 2, women contribute. Number 3, both are involved.
That's it.
Both are involved. Now, let's talk about romance. If you have your finance in order, because when your finance is jacked up, it can affect romance for sure.
Definitely.
And a lot of times it's the mindset is jacked up with the finances.
Right.
It's not necessarily the money. We don't believe that people get divorced necessarily because of finances. Maybe you got divorced because you had a mindset that a man is supposed to provide luxury, and he's supposed to provide basic provision, right? So once you have the basics of finance down, those 3 points there, let's talk about romance.
Yes, romance.
Yeah,
romance is always great, right? In the marriage. And we looked up the definition in romance: a feeling of excitement and mystery associated with love. I love that definition. Excitement and mystery associated with love. And with the romance, with us ladies, if you touch the heart, it's cold here, you touch the cookie. So, talking to the men out there, a lot of times you want the cookie, right? And I'm talking right now to the married men, and y'all know what the cookie is.
The cookie.
Okay? So if you, and I like it called the cookie. If you want the cookie, then you have to touch the girl's heart. You have to touch her heart. Because women, we are connected, or women are connected through the heart first. And James and I, we often ask each other questions about what is worse. Is it worse if, you're caught cheating, if your spouse is caught cheating, or is it worse if it was, one-time cheating, sex outside of the marriage, or if it's an affair? And every time it's like, well, the affair is worse because they have your heart. Women, we always like, the affair is worse because now I have to compete with another one for your heart. And for men, that's totally different. They're like, no, if you had sex with somebody, I can win you back. But if you had sex with someone...
Yeah, we're talking about emotional affair, by the way.
Right, emotional. Right. Yeah. You have the... Women, if you have the emotional affair with someone else, men feel like they can easily, I can fight, I can win her back. But if you cross that line with the sex part, then guess what? Now they look at it as truly a problem. And that just talks to how us women with the heart, how much we love with the heart first. And so if you fellas can touch that heart first, or if you're constantly touching the heart, then you can constantly touch the cookie. If you're touching the heart every once in a while, that's probably, why you're not getting the cookie that much.
Well, that's understanding that for women, foreplay is all day.
Yes.
Foreplay is all day. You thinking you gonna be a jerk all day long. You're going to worry. You're going to come home, say, I did my part, sit on the couch, kick your feet up, drink a beer, watch the game. Hey, what's for dinner? You ain't helping out, cleaning with the children. Nothing at all. You're doing nothing at all. And then, you're going to roll over and say those 3 magic words that women love to hear. Hey, you awake? Hey, you awake? And you gonna start some foreplay at that point. No. Foreplay is all day.
Right.
Women, if you touch the heart, you touch the cookie, and you got to understand what's their 5 love language. Raymond know what I'm talking about. Yes, the cookie. He said, yes, the cookie. Right? Women, by the way, if you give away the cookie, then he ain't gonna touch the heart.
Right.
So our single ladies, if you give away the cookie and he hadn't touched the heart, single ladies, y'all don't understand what you're doing. When you give away the cookie, make that boy earn that thing.
Make him earn it, and by earn it, we mean marriage. Like put the ring on it, and that just sets the whole precedent for your marriage. And so, and then once you get married, fellas, I like the way you say it. Date your wife. Once you get married, keep trying to earn that cookie.
Right. You have to communicate your desires. Number 2. Okay. We'll talk about romance. Number 1 is touch the heart. You touch the cookie. Number 2 is communicate your desires, ladies. Men are not mind readers. We don't know. And so many women, they have this idea about, romance. I want him to be romantic. Well, he should just want to. He should know. We don't know, and we don't want to, but we will do it.
Right.
We will do it if you tell us, hey, I want to go here. You may want to go do something that he doesn't necessarily want to go do. Well, I want him to want to do it. He don't want to do it. If he wanted to do it, he'd have already done it.
Right.
Don't get caught up on you want him to want to do it. Just want him to do it. If he does it, if I have something I want my wife to do, if I get her to do it, I don't care if she wanted to do it. She did it. I'm happy, right? So you can just simply tell him, hey, you know what? You got now remember, you got the cookie. You have some leverage in this situation.
Yes.
Now don't get thrown off. We talk about in marriage, okay?
Right.
Doesn't that make me a prostitute? Don't that make me
not in marriage?
You married. What are you talking about? Use that cookie leverage. Hey.
Yes.
You
want something done? He wants something done. It's a mutual give and take in the relationship, and women have a hard time of doing that. Like you were saying, I want him to want to do it. Men don't think that way.
We are barterers.
That's right.
We negotiate. And you have the biggest negotiation chip. The cookie.
Yes.
Yeah. So
definitely.
So number 2, communicate your desires. All right. Number 1, touch the heart, touch the cookie. Number 2, communicate your desires. And number 3, keep romance in its place. Now, romance adds tremendous value to your marriage. But romance, this feeling of excitement and mystery associated with love, it is not the centerpiece of marriage. It's not the centerpiece of marriage. And so many people in our society right now get that so out of balance. So you got to keep romance in its place. Keep romance in its proper place. The mystery, the excitement, the feeling is the definition of romance. Here's the thing about feelings. Feelings come and go.
Yes.
Feelings come and go. So if you base your marriage off of romance, it's going to come and go. Romance isn't love. Feeling the emotion, that's not what love is. And marriage is about love.
It is. It's definitely about love. Because they even talk about in marriage about the honeymoon phase. How during that honeymoon phase, you're learning everything about your spouse, learning the new things, you're just moving in, all these different things. And then you get stuck where, it might not be as romantic because now he has a bump on his back and I got to pop the zit. Or you might have something, a piece of...
That's a weird example.
It was. I mean, but no, and you don't have zips on your back. But
I know.
That's why it was weird.
Who's this you popping?
I read it online.
Oh, okay.
It talked about
from somewhere. That was specific.
It was.
It's about time to cut this show short.
So, in the article, let me go to the article. In the article, it talked about the different things and how you feel like some of that romance does die down because you're not doing all the fluffy and flowery stuff that you did when you were married. Now you are, taking care of each other on different levels that you didn't know. You might be picking up socks off the floor, right. Or you might be picking up, the toothpaste is in the sink and you have to clean it, or whatever the case may be. A lot of the times that romance, and that's where that love picks up, because you married because of love and not because of romance. We're not saying, like you said, keep romance in its proper place, because if you base your marriage on romance, it can definitely be based on something that is not solid, that is rocky.
That's finicky. And feelings are finicky.
Very much so.
So you said it though. You said it. That's when the love kicks in.
Right.
And this is how people need to understand love. We say it, our understanding and definition of love all the time, because repetition is the mother of knowledge. So let us give it to you one more time. Love is a commitment coupled with emotion that leads to action on behalf of the object. Love is a commitment. Mm-hmm. So when you have to clean that toothpaste, clean toilets, laundry, you do the different things, pop the zits on the back.
And then talk about what fellas don't. You don't want to go out there and mow the grass. You don't want to go and get the oil changed. Different things that you're doing for somebody else. You're like, well, this ain't my cup of tea. I don't necessarily want to do those different things.
But you do it because you're committed to it, and a commitment is doing that thing you said you would do. Those vows you said you would keep. Long after the feeling in which it was said has expired. That's what commitment is all about. So it's a commitment coupled with emotion that leads to action. Love is an action word. You can't just say, if people are talking about love, I love you, and you're just saying it, but what are your actions saying? It leads to action on behalf of the object. So it's the action on behalf of the person that you say you love. That's what love is about. That's what marriage is centered around, not romance. So you have your finances in order. That will help with romance as well, but keep it in its proper place.
Definitely. And so to recap, romance, you want to touch the heart, to touch the cookie, you want to communicate your desires, and you want to keep romance in its place. And so we have talked about the show about romance and finance. And of course, every week we bring you our weekly message. And this week is no other than Mr. Penn bringing us our Marriage by Design weekly message.
All right, so we're talking about romance and finance. Fellas, you have to understand that as you were pursuing your wife, you were doing things that were creating that excitement, creating that mystery, but you have to continue to win her. Men, we are competitive by nature, and once we have got the woman to agree to the dating us and agree, we get down on our knees and we ask her to marry us, and she agrees, and we're engaged, and then we get married. So often you stop competing for her. You stop trying to win her because your mind switches. It's like a switch goes off and it goes to, well, I want her. I don't have to continue to do those same things, but you have to continue to date your wife unless you expected somebody else to. Listen, success comes daily, but so does failure. If you are doing certain things in any area of life, it's going to lead to either success or failure, but it's on a daily basis. How does failure come? Daily. Small errors in judgment acted on daily. How does success come? A few sound decisions daily. So date your wife daily. Be romantic daily. Foreplay is all day. You have to continue to win your wife. If you treat the relationship the way you did at the beginning of the relationship, at the end of the relationship, there won't be an end to the relationship. So that's the marriage message of the week. Make sure that you date your wife before somebody else does. Continue to win her on a daily basis, and that's going to add so much romance and spice to your life.
Definitely. And these are the topics we're going to be covering at Real Talk. So when this is over, go to the website www.realtalk. I always leave out the realtalktour.com and reserve your seat today.
So between now and the next time that our paths cross, go out there, design the type of marriage you deserve for you and your family, and we will see you on the journey.